Welcome to the Hyper-fixation Station. I'm your host, Lalifu, and I'd like to welcome Haro to the show. Today, they're going to tell us about their OCs, Taj and Penny. So, Haro, take it away.
Hi there, my name's Haro, they, them. Yeah, shall I just tell you about my OCs then?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, so my OC is Taj, and then Penny is the brainchild of a dear friend of mine, Fox, who is sort of the collective OC of our friend group. She was like, here's my OC, Penny, and we were all like nodding along, and Bugs Bunny meme, our OC now. So Taj is a monster, sometimes called demon, that is from literally another world. It's from a realm called Zal, which is hell ? Anyone that thinks that monsters are demons does in fact assume that it is hell. It's just like a really nasty place. Very, very, very dry there. There's no surface water. All of their water has to be drawn up very painstakingly from deep wells. And even these wells, the most you get is like a trickle at a time. Now, monsters don't need to eat and drink to survive, but it does strengthen them and it can help heal them to do so. So these, like, food and water is still like an incredibly precious resource that they are always after. But Zal doesn't have a lot of that. Zal doesn't have trees. It has very dense, sort of wiry scrub, which can be then beaten into fiber for clothes or used very preciously as paper. Any of the edible stuff obviously is going to be eaten. There is no sun in Zal. There might be a sun. We don't know. Jury's still out on that because the entire sky is blanketed in heavy cloud cover. And those clouds are very, very low. Like, reach up and you feel like you should be able to touch them. The sky is so low, very claustrophobic, it's very barren, it's very dry, it's very harsh. So monsters aren't exactly jazzed about living there. Monsters would actually strongly prefer to not live there. And so Taj comes from a literal monster eat monster kind of society where the number one way to grow in power, in size, in strength, in authority, in magic is to eat another person. So there is no shortage of infighting amongst monsters, but there is also no shortage of loyalty pledging amongst monsters. So monsters being magic, they can bind their souls to another person, usually monsters on account of that's all they have access to, but as we'll see later in the story, they can do it with humans as well. We'll get to there. Don't worry, we'll get there. So most bonds are going to just be between a subordinate and their superior. And so it is the superior's duty to their subordinates to protect, to safeguard, to provide for. And so to bind one soul to another is to give them your magic and to receive their magic in turn. And so it is a lending of strength, it is a lending of knowledge. You are binding souls. It's very intimate. So you don't do this lightly. The duty of a subordinate then is kind of what we would expect for a subordinate. You're mostly expected to obey. If your superior says, okay, we're going to make a castle out of boulders and rocks and shit, you're making a castle out of boulders and rocks and shit. If your superior says, okay, we're going to war with this other superior and that subordinate, then you're going to war. This is, you have pledged yourself and your life in service to this other entity because you believe your best bet is to do so. They also have marital bonding, which is typically done between two subordinates of the same superior. A superior would not typically take a marital bond just because that puts a really, really, really big target on the back of whoever that person is. Because again, we're in a monster eat monster society, and any weak link is going to be exploited because everyone wants to get up one on another. Not to say that they don't have collaborative relationships between differing factions. You can have collaborative relationships, but that is mostly for knowledge. One of the things that monsters who do get out of Zal will sometimes do is they will act as benefactors by sending information and sending books back to Zal. Because no one goes back to Zal after they leave it. That doesn't happen. There is no force in existence that could convince a monster to go back to Zal after they have escaped it. It does not happen. But if you are feeling merciful and charitable, you might, if you have escaped Zal, record your findings of the realm that you have gone to and send that back, or get a storybook and send that back, or get any kind of knowledge, any kind of story, music sheets, anything that comes not from Zal that can provide information or even just a moment of reprieve is so, so valuable. So if you are someone who has memorized a book that has been sent back to Zal from another realm, you might then be willing to trade that knowledge, because you already have it, it's in your brain, for material resources like food or water, which are again so scarce in Zal. So Taj started out as, I call it a ghoul. Taj uses its pronouns, but honestly, you can use any pronouns you want for it. It doesn't know what human gender is. It knows humans have genders, but it doesn't really understand gender, and it also doesn't care. So one of the things that I did when making Taj was I had this friend who uses its pronouns, and that was a really rough transition for me. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go a little brain crazy about one of my OCs, and I'm gonna make this OC use its pronouns. So that way, if I fuck it up, one, it literally can't care because it's not a real person. Like that's a doll that lives inside my brain. It is incapable of caring about the fact that I got its pronouns wrong. Two, inverse. It doesn't care if you get its pronouns wrong. It fully doesn't. It like completely we'll talk about it later, but if you call it he, if you call it she, if you call it husband, if you call it the man of the house, it doesn't care. Like it truly, truly could not care less what pronouns you use for it. It's technically it's any, but he, she, and they are all equally wrong for it, and it equally does not give a shit. I was talking about books. I've gone on tangented myself, and now I need to find my way back to the point that I was making.
I forgot
Oh
how
yeah,
good this.
I'm sorry.
I forgot how good this was because you told me the story like 2 years ago. I'm like, oh my god, I
It
forgot
was a
so
few
much.
years ago. We've been
Also,
friends for so long.
I'm like squeezing the sheet every time you tell something good. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay.
But so Taj started out as, I call it a ghoul, but apparently ghouls are like corpses that aren't zombies. So it's sort of like this dark spirit, like sort of like Dr. Facilier's shadows in The Princess and the Frog, but like able to leave the two-dimensional space and like hang out in space. Like imagine a cloud of shadows with eyes. That's where it started out. And it was about maybe a foot and a half tall, very small at the start. And over years and years and years, it has acquired authority. It never took a subordinate bond to another superior. It would act as an employee, which is different than a subordinate and also different from a slave for obvious reasons. Sometimes you would not kill and eat something that you bested in combat. You would keep that monster as your slave until it was no longer useful to you, and then you would eat it, or until it proved itself loyal enough to be bumped up to employee. But again, it's a very harsh world they're living in. There's not a lot of nice social niceties going on. But so Taj never took a subordinate bond. It always knew it wanted to be superior. It wanted to get out of Zal. It had genuine ambition and wit. Now, we as humans do not generally think of Taj as the smartest tool in that shed box. It's but it's predominantly naive to the ways of Earth because it hasn't lived here before and its culture is very different. In monster society, Taj is so fucking smart. Taj is sincere, it's very kind, it's very benevolent, and it is so sharp. So Taj knew that it could bide its time, be patient, work its way up, and become a superior that gets itself and its subordinates out of Zal and into another realm. And it hung on to that dream. And its closest friend, Keegan, became its first subordinate. They did a soul bond back when Taj was still just a smoking pillar of black goo, and Keegan saw in Taj something worth swearing its fealty to. And Keegan is a goblin. And so Keegan was Taj's very first subordinate, and it was kind of the two of them against all of Zal for a little while there. But slowly, Taj would find and eat food, would best others in combat and eat them, and that gets you a lot of power, a lot of magic, a lot of physical size growth. And as it consumed more, as it received more subordinate bonds, it grew substantially. It is now about 12 feet tall, and while it does still have the base of sort of black shadowy goo, it is now taken form. It's got 4 arms, the top 2 of which end in hands, more or less, but the fingers taper into points instead of having like notable claws or fingernails or anything like that. And it's void black, so it's really easy to draw if you're like doing digital art. You just choose the blackest black and the paint bucket and you just fill in the lines, which I love characters with that design where it's like if they move their arm in front of their torso, you can no longer see their hand. I think that's such a fun character design. I love void black characters, the blacker than black characters. I think that's so fun to toy with and also draw art of, even though I'm not as good at drawing as I am at storytelling. And so, but its middle 2 arms are sort of hybrid between hand and foot. Like they operate as hands, but they can also then, Taj can drop down onto all 4s and they'll operate as feet, which is another character design that I just think fucks supremely. So I do it all the time. Its hind legs don't really have feet as much as it has like tree trunks or like elephant's foots, we would maybe compare it to, but like with the sort of root sort of visual that we would not associate with animals' feet. And it's sort of, it always has like this hunch to it, unless it's like doing a threat display when it's drawn itself to its full height. It's usually sort of following this S curve in its spine and down its legs. And then its skull, it looks like bone. It's technically not because it's made out of shadows, because its entire body is made out of physical shadows, but it looks like bone. It's got 2 very large, stout fangs in the front. It's got horns that are segmented, so it looks like it has 2 shorter horns that then grow into the larger horns. And from those horns, it grows this sort of shaggy gray fur. That's not quite hair, it's not quite fur. It's just a weird little, I think it made it look fun and strange and unidentifiable, so I included it. And that, and like, I always like a little bit of fuzz somewhere on my creatures, just somewhere. And then its eyes are just pure cyan. No pupil, no iris, no sclera. It's just cyan orbs that are faintly glowing. And when it is in its physical form, that's really the only part of it that isn't like void black and then bone white. So it's just got that little bit of cyan that glows faintly and it really pops. And I say physical form, and I keep bringing that up because Taj can also then do the Dr. Facilier shadow thing where it will drop down into the shadows and it can move around in 2-dimensional space. And it is very hard to hurt when it is dropped down into the shadows like that. You can still hurt it if it's dropped down into the shadows, but it's very, very difficult and usually requires foreknowledge and prep time. And Taj does not make a habit of leaving its enemies alive long enough for them to have foreknowledge or prep time. It's very good for the fact that it's survived this long. It's very good at finishing what it started. It does not take slaves. Taj is not one that keeps slaves. It either eats you or you didn't pick a fight with it in the first place. Those are really the only two options. Or it might feed you to its subordinates. Three options. Because it prides itself on being benevolent, and it prides itself on working really well together with its subordinates. That's something it takes a lot of pride in. And so Taj eventually gets to the point where it's got this massive stone castle that's fortified. There are big walls. 200 subordinates inside that castle. It has bound its soul to a lot of monsters, and it's got other employees where they are willing to work for Taj and they see this as a very good, very beneficial deal, but they're not quite willing to bind their soul to Taj's because they have their own ambitions to become a superior one day, or they're already experiencing a marital bond to someone who's a subordinate to someone else, which is pretty rare in monster society, but can happen. Or they just don't really trust Taj's nicey nice act. No one's that nice. Surely no one can actually be trustworthy when they say these things that they clearly do not mean. So for whatever reason, not everyone that works for Taj is bound to Taj, or maybe Taj doesn't trust them. Again, it's a two-way street, and having a subordinate means that you are now responsible to that subordinate for their safety and for their well-being. That's a lot to ask of Taj, and it's something that Taj has answered yes to 200 times, but that doesn't mean that everyone that is willing to work for Taj and would be willing to take a subordinate bond to Taj is then also willing to make a superior bond to that person. So 200 subordinates, it's centuries old at this point. It has stayed alive by wit, and as it has grown older and larger, by overwhelming force. It feels like, and it is ravenous for books and for information also. It has always placed a lot of value on learning as much as possible, which is also why it does not let people learn things about it and then use those things against it. It finishes what it starts or what is started against it, because it knows if you let them go with that information, that's now information that can be used against me. That's not happening. So because it has been so ravenous in its consuming of knowledge, it now believes that it is at a point where it can make the jump to another realm. Now, it has been warned through various recordings, various diaries or journals that have been sent back, that you can jump too early. And the people who jump way too early don't make it to another realm. Those are not people who write back, because those are not people who survive the jump. So Taj has read accounts that if you jump too early, you can make it, but you can permanently damage your magical reserves on entry to the point where you will never be able to use magic like you did. Like, they can still use a little magic. Obviously, that's how they got their diaries back to Zal. But it will never be in the same capacity that they had before they jumped. So Taj has been very correctly cautious about making this jump. But it's like, okay, I have reached kind of the theoretical heights of what I am able to do, basically. Like, I could stick around and essentially just like grind magic power for another couple centuries, but I don't want to do that because I hate it here, because Zal sucks and I want to go to a different realm. So it feels a little impatient, but it has tempered that impatience very deliberately and longer than many monsters would, because monsters are not known for their self-restraint. They're actually known for quite the opposite. So it gathers all 200 of its subordinates, it dismisses its employees, thanks them for their time, says, hey, after everyone has left my castle, you can kind of probably just have the free real estate. I'm not bringing any of my things with me, certainly. Like, they will have the clothes on their backs and the tools at their hips, and that's kind of it. So it dismisses its employees and it gathers its subordinates and it's bonded and goes, okay, I'm going to jump over. I'm going to recover the magic from the jump. I'm going to claim territory, because claiming territory is a necessary step that we'll get into. And then I'll bring you all over. I love you all. Wish me luck. And it very specifically states that it will call over the most loyal to it first. Those who have been bonded to it the longest will go first, and anyone who is a more recent bond will go last. So the people who are more recent are going to just kind of have to deal with that for a little bit, because it's dangerous to be in Zal, and it's dangerous to be someone who does not have a superior to watch out for them and to throw their weight around if someone tries to pick a fight or, eat you. So that is something that they're going to have to deal with, but it is going to summon everyone over as quickly as it is able, because it's aware of this. It's dangerous to leave them alone, and it doesn't want to lose anyone. So it makes the jump. And it takes a lot of setup, a lot of resources, a lot of magic to make even just the spell circle that will send it across realms. And then to actually do the spell is so expensive. But it's just like, okay, I just need to hang on long enough to make it there. Surely I'm close, right? Like, surely I'm almost there. And it just has to keep repeating to itself, I'm almost there, I'm almost there, I'm almost there, because it doesn't have any idea of how close it actually is to this next realm. It just has to jump and trust that it has enough magic to get it there. And it does. It doesn't permanently injure itself. Taj makes it to Earth, and there is a small village next to this beautiful forest where it's in the middle of the night, and I've sort of gone back and forth on how Taj makes its entrance, but I think I eventually settled on there is a suspiciously plot relevant, lone woman awake in the night, looking up at the stars, and she sees a falling star streak across the sky and land in the forest nearby. And it shakes the town. And not enough to wake anyone. It's not an earthquake, but just a subtle rumble in the earth that she can feel, and she makes a wish on that fallen star, don't you know? Oh my god. Oh my god. And so Taj makes it. Oh my god, it's so relieved. It made it. It's exhausted. It physically cannot lift its arms. It cannot move. Because the final part of the spell is to claim territory in the place where it lands. So it has used all of its magic. It is out. It is exhausted. It is physically, magically, mentally out. And so its every instinct for centuries of living in Zal says, you cannot fall asleep. You're out in the open. You have to get somewhere and hide before you can rest. And all of Taj's actual physical needs say, sorry, buddy, if we die, we die. We're taking a nap about this. And it wakes up hours or days later. It has no way of knowing, but still alive. Nothing ate it while it was asleep. And it's like, well, damn. I knew Earth was supposed to be safer than Zal, but I didn't think it would be this safe. The forest creatures didn't really want to fuck with it. That's a very large animal, they think, and they know better than to go poking sleeping bears. But it's shocked that it's still alive when it wakes up, and it's like, okay, time to get to work. And so it sort of surveys its territory. And I keep talking about the territory. So Earth hates monsters a lot. Earth does not like monsters. These are not of Earth. They are freeloaders here. Earth did not make these things. Earth is not interested in hosting these things. Earth hates monsters. It does not want them around. If you can claim territory on the Earth, it can't hurt you. But if they try to go beyond the bonds of the territory, the confines of the territory, the Earth will try to kill them. and it will exhaust them and it will hurt them and it will do everything in its power. The very air is toxic to them because Earth fucking hates monsters. It does not want them here. Get this shit out of here. Unauthorized fucking thing. Earth does not want monsters here. Monsters say, too bad. We want to be here more than we want to be on Zal, because Zal also hates us, but in a different way. So Taj cannot leave the borders of its territory. It does go up to the border of its territory and be like, what if I just stick my least favorite hand out over the border of my territory just to see what happens? And nothing happens when its hand is like extended into the air there. It's like, okay, I'm going to touch something outside of my territory, and it touches the ground. And it's like, okay, that doesn't hurt. That's not exhausting me. That's fine. And then it tries to shift its weight onto that hand and in a way, quote, take a step out of its territory, unquote. And that's when it feels just pain ricochet up its arm and like directly into its skull. It cannot leave its territory. If it tries to leave its territory, the earth will hurt it so bad. But it has now done a successful science. It knows it can reach past the border of its territory and touch things there. It just can't try to shift its weight so as to leave its territory. This is valuable information. We've done science. That really hurt, and now it's very tired. It should have maybe waited to do that until after it had set up a shelter. But it's too late now. Lesson learned. So it tries to catch some like very brave squirrels that have gone into this. Oh, and also when it claims territory, the world in that territory shifts. Everything takes on a more muted, darker tone to it. So the brown bark sort of darkens. The green leaves take almost purpley, like they're still green, but they almost look purple. The grass looks almost blackish purple green. It Everything mutes, everything dulls, everything darkens within its territory. It looks very cursed. It looks like a very cursed, spooky monster in the forest territory because that's what it is. We're going classic, baby. And so it goes out and there are some squirrels that are like, okay, it's been quiet here for a couple of days. Let's go into the spooky, weird purple forest. Taj eats those. There are some birds in the trees. They're like, all right, you know what? My nest was here and nothing has killed me yet. Taj eats those. Taj is on a mission because it does not need to eat every day in the way that humans do, where we like require constant sustenance to afford the upkeep and maintenance of our bodies. Like it is predominantly made of magic, so it doesn't need that. It is again trying to rebuild its strength, rebuild its magic, repair itself, and grow in strength from the absolute torrential exhaustion of teleporting here. So it needs to eat, but it needs to eat for its goals, not because it will starve. And it finds a little stream in its territory, and it's like, oh my god, there's just like water hanging out on the ground for free. This is so exciting. So it drinks a lot. It's so excited to be here. It is absolutely delighted. Like it's on a mission because it needs to get its subordinates over here because every moment it leaves them alone in Zal is another moment they have a chance of getting eaten by something. But it's also just like elated. It's so happy to be here. Everything is so beautiful and lush, and there's wind here. It's heard about wind. It's read about wind, but it's never experienced wind before. This is so exciting. The trees are rustling. Everything is so alive and vibrant and beautiful, even within its territory. Everything is so much more vibrant than it's used to. Even these dull, matted, sort of muted colors are so vibrant to Taj's eyes. It's so excited to be here. It's having a really wonderful time. It is so tired. It needs to go lay down. And so it sort of falls into a cycle of, okay, wake up, try to go find something to eat, build itself a little shelter out of stones. It's been a very long time since Taj was involved in like any kind of construction. It usually has its subordinates do that. So its shelter is leaving some to be desired, but that's fine because that's not its priority right now. Its priority is getting its subordinates who do know how to build structures over here. And so it sort of falls into a pattern of the next year of build up strength, summon a subordinate. Keegan and Taj has a very nice touching reunion because Keegan is of course Taj's first subordinate, the first monster it brings over. It's very most loyal goblin, and Keegan gives Taj a lot of shit because Keegan tries to be professional by Monster's values of professional in front of Taj's other subordinates and employees. But when it's just the two of them, they're giving each other shit. And monsters just sort of inherently give their superiors more shit than humans do. It's a very loud, brash, crass, opinionated culture. Monsters don't really hold their tongues. They might not say something in order to avoid picking a fight because they know they'd lose it, but Taj's subordinates will insult it if they think that Taj deserves to be insulted or in play. They're going to. They don't have what humans would consider table manners. They're very crude. But they're also very honest. Lying is given a lot more weight in monster culture than lying is given in human culture. Kind of not quite Fey rules, but where we get the mythology of Fey rules from, where monsters do not lie, and it is considered shock, gasp, wow when someone does lie. That's a much more serious crime to them than saying, "Boss, your house sucks ass. What is this? What is give it's no, no, no. You're doing nothing. I am making the house now." Like that is considered way, way, way more polite than trying to lie and say, well, it's not a bad attempt. That is considered way worse than saying, "Boss, this house sucks ass," because one is a lie and the other is true. Um, so Taj then brings over its other subordinates one by one, and the more subordinates it has on this side, the more easily it can draw on their magic, on their strength, on their reserves, and rebuild itself enough to summon the next one. And so eventually, towards the end, it's summoning one subordinate a day. And towards the very, very end, two subordinates a day, where it can just draw on their collective energy and magic and power, and everyone's eating. They're going full goat mode. They are putting everything in their mouths. They are eating pine cones, they are eating grass, they're eating twigs. They've gone fishing. There's fish in the water. The water is so abundant that there's life that lives specifically in the water. This is so exciting. Taj is expanding its territory to give them hunting grounds, to give them further access to more plant resources, because even though they'll eat anything, they realize quickly seeds and nuts and berries have the most pound for pound energy that you get out of them. They're learning hunting and gathering from scratch, but they will just eat grass. They'll just rip up a handful of grass and eat that because they're monsters, and this is very exciting for them. And there's just plants everywhere, all over the place. And so finally, exactly 1 year after it first crash landed into, Taj summons the last of its subordinates, and they throw a fucking party. They throw a fucking party. They've got music, they've got meat, they've got some weird leaves they found that taste really nice. They are fucking partying. They're eating mushrooms regardless of those mushrooms' effects on their bodies. They are going to town. There is music, there is sex, there is dancing, there is frolicking around the bonfire. They are going ham because they fucking made it, dude. They made it out. They're out of Zal, and they are all out of Zal. It is time to go nuts. And they do that for 3 days. It is just a constant wall of noise and motion and food and eating and sex also. Monsters are not particularly shy about that. And so after the party wears down and they all sleep that off, Taj gathers all of its subordinates again, and it's like, okay, phase 2 of the plan. The Earth hates us, so we can't leave the territory. And I have expanded the territory quite a bit, but it will still get very claustrophobic if we can never leave the territory. Now, I've read accounts and I've read fairy tales of ways that monsters have circumvented this before. And what monsters would typically do is require a sacrifice from the nearest human settlement. And that way they won't, go kill everyone in the settlement, blah, 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 blah. You've read fairy tales before. You've seen fairy tales before. You know. The monster requires a sacrifice. And Taj is like, okay, and that's all well and good. And most of them get away with that for a few years. But eventually some knight or hero or dragon slayer comes along and kills the monster and saves whoever. Usually a maiden, I think, is like the word for sacrifice in human language. I'm not really sure what a maiden is, but I think it's like a subsect of human. Anyway, normally there's like some kind of hero that shows up and kills the monster. So I don't want to do that. So the next option is a marital bond. And now this is very exciting because, again, superiors do not usually take marital bonds because anyone married to a superior and any offspring of a superior are going to have giant targets on their back. But we're not in Zal anymore. So Taj can have a marital bond with someone. This is very exciting. The monsters are all very intrigued by this. And Taj states that it's going to place a curse on a nearby human settlement that until they give Taj either a bride or a groom, it's not really sure what the difference is, because again, it does not understand human gender. It will at no point in anything understand human gender. It will like get the dressings of it eventually, but it's never going to comprehend human gender. But it's going to get a bridegroom. And once they give me a bridegroom, I'll stop cursing their town. And I will have a marital bond, which will, by extension of all of our souls being bound, allow us to leave the territory. Because as much as the earth hates monsters, hates monsters, it loves humans more. And it will always love humans more than the earth hates monsters, which is why eating a human works. If you eat a human, you absorb that human's magic. And one of the greatest magics that humans have is that the earth loves them. That is a powerful magic that exists in them. And monsters can then absorb that and have that to leave their territory and go frolic about the earth without getting exhausted and hurt because they have that magic of the earth's love in their body now because they ate a human. But that wears off, which is why the monsters in these stories would have to ask for a yearly sacrifice because they have to refresh that magic. It's not something that they can keep. If Taj marries a human and binds that human's soul to it through a marital bond, it will have the earth's love for that human bound through it and all through its subordinates for the rest of that human's life. And humans are supposed to live for like 80 years or something. So it's not going to have to replace a human that often. This is way more sustainable and way less likely to get heroes or dragon slayers on their doorstep because Taj can just like have a cute little human spouse and they'll be happy together and Taj will do its best and it will exert itself to make the human happy in this marital bond. And everyone's like, yeah, we will also do that because we love you and we're so excited that you're going to have a marital bond and maybe offspring. This is so exciting. So Taj sets everyone to work. It's a big, impressive spell, but what it does is it makes it so the humans cannot leave the borders of their town. It's like running on a treadmill almost. They get to the border of the town and they'll keep walking or running, or there's a fishing boat that goes out and they'll row and they'll row and they'll row and they'll turn around to look back at the shore and it is exactly in the same spot where they left it. And they'll run and they'll run and they'll run and they'll run until they collapse. But when they stand back up and turn around, they are still right at the border of town. And you can watch other people run against the border of town. And it looks like they should be moving forward. It looks like the ground is, their feet are landing on the ground. They should be moving forward. They're just not. It's like in Mario 64 when you try to go up the Bowser staircase before you have enough stars. You can always just turn around and you're right there at the bottom of the stairs. They turn around and they're right there at the edge of town, which is not great, and enough to freak out quite a few of them. And then they learn that time is no longer moving in the sense that this is the end of winter. It is supposed to be spring. Seeds are supposed to be going and shooting up. Chickens are supposed to be laying eggs. And pigeons are going to lay eggs. And ducks and geese are supposed to lay eggs. Cows and goats and sheep are supposed to produce milk. None of them are doing that. And they're at the end of their winter reserves. It's supposed to be spring. So now it's a full town-wide panic. They're like, okay, we gotta get this curse off of us. We cannot do this long. And so they find at one edge of town it looks almost like a deer trail. If deer trails were dark and muted and dull. But it looks like this little deer trail, and in the deer trail is a sign. And the sign says, I am Taj. I am the monster that lives in the woods. You will send to me a bride or groom, and one amongst your ranks who can officiate a union. And once I have acquired this spouse, I will lift the curse from your town, and you will be able to leave again, and your crops and your livestock will once again produce. If you do not, you will starve. I am waiting. And it's a very simple sign. And it is intimidating. Taj is aware that it is being intimidating. Taj is aware that it is being cruel. It also is a monster and doesn't care. And also, in Zal, this would be very nice. By Zal's standards, by its own cultural standards, it's being so very nice right now. Like, it's not killing anyone. It's not hunting anyone for sport. It's not dragging children who frolic into the woods out into its lair to be eaten. There's actually one point after the town discovers the signs that a three-man band of headstrong youths pick up their pitchforks and try to go like hunt Taj. And they don't get past the goblins before Taj, because it's able to communicate more or less with its subordinates across their soul bonds. Taj is like, yeah, just send them back to their parents. Don't hurt them. It's fine. We don't need to eat those guys. They're just stupid and young. And they're like, okay, back to your parents. And so the youths are like shaken because they just saw monsters and lost resoundingly. But it doesn't hurt them. It's not hurting anyone. By Zal standards, Taj is a saint. And so, of its conditions listed, it needs a bride or groom who has more than half their lifespan left to them, who is not married and has not been married, who does not have children and has never had children. So someone relatively young, unmarried. The stories say that they should offer up a virgin, but it kind of goes around the town discussion like, well, it doesn't say virginal, it just says unmarried and without children. And so one little Miss Penny is added to the drawing pool. Now, Penny is a character I've not talked about a lot because I've been talking about Taj. Penny is my friend's OC, kind of defined by woefully atrocious self-esteem. She is baby girl. Baby girl, your self-esteem is so atrocious. Penny was born because her father wanted a family, and her mother was trying to purchase her father's love. And so Penny was brought into this world to be someone else's ideal. And she has always been aware of this. And she's got two younger brothers, Peter and Patrick. And Patrick is closer to her in years, so the two of them do regard each other as dear friends and brother and sister. Peter is 9 years younger than Penny. And Penny basically raised him. Her mother was not interested in being a mother and not suited to being a mother. Her mother wanted them to be what their father wanted and then be quiet and seen and not heard all other times. And so Penny has this parentification and oldest daughter syndrome and does not believe she has worth outside of being what other people want her to be. And she is a talented dressmaker. She is a very, very talented seamstress or tailor or whatever word you want to use to describe her. She's very good with a needle and thread. She's very good at clothes making. And she's a very hard and dutiful worker. And her dad tragically passed, and his dying wish was that they look out for each other and they look out for their mother. And so Peter and Patrick took that as, okay, well, we're going to go find our fortunes and we'll send mom some money every now and then and she can live in a cottage somewhere. Penny took that as, I have to live with my mother well past when I would have otherwise moved out to make sure that someone is cooking and cleaning and laundering and taking care of her. So she and her mother, Anya, moved to this little town because this town didn't have a clothes maker or seamstress, and so Penny would have work there. And Penny is the sole breadwinner in this little two-person household right now. And so Anya is not taking the fact that this town has been spooky cursed by spooky monsters that live in a now spooky forest well at all. And she has always, their whole lives, viewed her children as for her to buy what she wants with. And right now, what Wanya wants is out of this place. So when it is brought up that the person doesn't necessarily need to be a virgin, Anya's like, well, just send them Penny then, and let's get the hell out of this place. And Penny is very betrayed by this. She has dedicated so much of her life desperately trying to please her mother, to try and buy her mother's love by being obedient, by being dutiful, by doing everything she asks, and she is still discarded the moment Anya needs her to go do this. And Anya insists that she do this for her. It's Penny's fault that they moved to this town. Penny needs to get them out of here. And Penny is shocked, she's hurt, she's betrayed. She just kind of very meekly goes along with it, and it is in a kind of state of shock. And so she had a boyfriend in town who, she wasn't like in love with him or anything, but he was nice to her. And he was pleasant to spend time with. And they had nice times canoodling behind the haystack. You know how it is. And he's really the only person who looks her in the eye and like offers to try and like help her pack or get her ready or does she need anything, because everyone else is like so relieved that it's not them, that it's not one of their family members who's being sent off to this monster in the woods for who knows what. Like it says on the board a bridegroom, but everyone kind of thinks that Penny's going to get eaten. Penny kind of thinks that Penny is going to get eaten. Like they've all read their fairy tales. They know what this is about. So Penny is just clinging to that one line of send an officiant to wed us in the style of humans. She's like, okay. They wouldn't insist on an officiant to wed us in the style of humans if it was just gonna eat me. And she is clinging to that. So her now ex-boyfriend sort of packs for her. Her mother is fucking useless, and all my homies hate Anya. All my homies hate Anya. And so Penny is given the wedding dress that belonged to the wife of a man who is now a widower to trudge out into this spooky fucking forest along this spooky fucking deer path into amongst these stupid fucking, she hates this, she's so scared, she's got her whole life strapped in 2 bags on either side of her, and they have no idea where they're going. She hates this, she's scared, she's tired, she's sweaty, she doesn't want to be here. She sits down on a rock because they've been walking for a very long time now and looks up and sees a little pixie in the tree above her. And you mentioned you really liked this part. And the pixie is like, oh, are you the one that's being offered up? And Penny is like, yeah, that's me. Are you Taj? And the pixie just goes off in a peal of laughter. It thinks that's the funniest thing a human's ever said to it. And it beckons its friends over. It's like, come here, come here, come here. This human thought I was Taj. And they all start laughing raucously. And now Penny is feeling a little self-conscious. because she doesn't know who Taj is. Taj could be any of them for all she knows. And the monsters are like, oh, this stupid fucking human, this stupid fucking dumb idiot. Idiot. You think I was Taj? You'll know when you see Taj. Idiot. You fucking dumb. So Penny's off to a really great start. And as they get deeper into the woods, more and more monsters join them, like on this little deer trail in the branches hanging over it. There are little skittering things that dart in around her skirts. None of them touch her, she notices. They'll like brush up against her skirts, but they don't actually touch her boots. They don't touch her ankles or her legs. They just go around her skirts, around the ankles of the priest and the mayor, because they did get a priest for the religious aspect of officiating and the mayor for the legal act of officiating. They weren't quite sure what Taj wanted. The mayor is not happy about this. The priest is less happy about this. Penny is probably the least happy of all, but she's also still kind of in shock right now. That's wearing off a little because there are so many monsters, and it's so loud. Monsters really only have one volume, and that is so loud. And then like a river reaching the ocean, this dark, muted, sort of dull deer path expands into this vast swath of dark, ominous forest. And then the monsters do start touching her. They're like, come on. We got to get you to the center of the territory. We got to go. Let's go. And she reaches the center of this territory, and there's this castle sort of in the works. It's like all of the core aspects of the castle are solid and made, but there are still like places of clear construction where the castle is being added to. And there's like this little ornamental pond, which Penny thinks is very strange. She didn't really think monsters were ornamental pond kind of creatures. It's the crater Dash landed in when it first arrived on Earth. And there's just so much free water hanging out. They're like, yeah, let's bring water to the main area of our settlement, to the center of the territory. This is so exciting. We're going to have a little pond. We didn't know what ponds were before we got here. This is so exciting. So they've got this little ornamental pond in the center of the territory. And Penny is sort of looking around. There's 200 fucking monsters. Most of them small. Most of them are goblin or pixie sized. But some of them have eaten their fair share of other creatures and have grown quite large. Keegan is there, and it's about the size of a human. It's eaten so many things across the course of its many centuries of life. And then the shadows move. And the shadows draw into the center in front of Penny and rise up from the ground and up and up and up. And from the shadows emerge this bone white skull with blue eyes, 4 arms, massive trunk-like legs. And Penny screams, and the priest faints, and the mayor is screaming. And distantly, Penny is aware, oh yeah, I know Taj. I know Taj when I see Taj. You can't mistake that. You know what? Maybe they were right to laugh at me. Obviously that one is Taj. Jesus Christ, she's freaking out. And Taj is so excited. Its bride has arrived. It's so excited. It's got a little spouse. It's going to have a marital bond. This was so much faster than it thought this would happen. It thought that humans would resist it for a while. Like, this is so expedient. It's so happy she's here. And Penny is like, okay, thanks. That's really nice of you that you're being so nice to me and also not eating me, which was my main worry when I went into the woods today. Jesus Christ, you could probably just swallow me whole. Holy fuck. And so Taj is like, all right, take the one that fainted, go put it on something soft. My little bridegroom, tell me your name. And she's like, I'm Penelope O'Healy. You can call me Penny. Also, I'm just a bride. Bridegroom is something else. And it's like, oh, exciting. Does that make you a woman? And she's like, I don't understand the conversation that we're having here. Taj is trying very hard to understand human gender. It's not succeeding. It's not going to succeed. So after the priest wakes up from the faint, because he absolutely fainted when Taj came out of the shadows, they have a very tense, very quick ceremony, and the mayor has them sign a legal document saying that they're married. It's very quick. It's very understated. Penny is not shaking just by sheer force of will. She's barely holding it together. And one of the monsters in the crowd calls out, "Well, that was boring." And Taj is like, "Yeah, that was pretty boring. But anyway, okay, you two can go home. Depending on how fast you walk, the spell I put on your town might be lifted by the time you get back. See you later. Anyway, lady wife, you're a lady and you're my wife. Let's get married in the way of monsters. I'm going to show you how monsters do it." And she's like, "Oh, great. Is eating back on the table?" No, eating is not on the table. She's fine. Taj takes her to a spell circle that it prepared beforehand. And inside the spell circle, the rest of the world becomes quieter. She is aware, sort of distantly, that all of these monsters are still at full volume, but it's no longer like really reaching her as much. Inside this spell circle, it's kind of like a blanket has drawn around just her and Taj, and it extends its forearm to her, its least favorite forearm. Or maybe its most favorite forearm. I waffle back and forth on that, where it's like, okay, it's going to be injured, so it would give her its least favorite forearm, but this is for the marital bond, so it would give her its most favorite forearm. So I waffle back and forth on that. Up to you. You pick. Which forearm do you think Taj gives Penny for the wedding ceremony? And it tells her to bite.
Sorry.
Favorite one? Okay, that is more romantic. So it gives Penny its favorite forearm, and it tells her to bite. And she's like, "What?" And it's like, "Bite." And she's like, "Huh?" And it's like, "Bite me on the forearm and draw blood and then swallow that blood." And she's like, "This might as well be happening." Okay. And its skin is not like when it was rising out of the shadows. Like, it is solid right now. It's in a solid form, but it's like biting into very, 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 very firm gelatin, where it's got that sort of gelatinous texture, but it's so tough. It is like biting through animal hide, which is a weird experience. And then she tastes the blood. The blood is an experience. It simultaneously tastes so bad. Like, it tastes so bad. But there's also something like nectar about it, like ambrosia about it. It's addictive and repulsive. It tastes so bad and so good. It is disgusting and enticing simultaneously. Swallowing it makes her moan, and she can't even tell if that was like a disgusting, I'm in pain like a wounded animal moan, or like a sex moan. Like, she is genuinely uncomprehending of her physical reaction to the taste of this thing's blood. And it is because Taj's blood is so just fucking potent with magic that her human brain doesn't really make sense of it. But her human brain is not really making sense of it. And it's like, great, now swallow. And so she ingests this thing's blood. She's like, okay. And then Taj very gently takes her arm and rolls up her sleeve with a lot more delicacy than she thought that one, a monster, two, a monster that size would do. And it just very, very barely, it's got these huge, sort of giant, broad, stout fangs that kind of look like tusks, but downwards. And it just barely pricks her with that. It's very, very, very careful and very gentle with her, and it licks blood from the wound until it scabs over. It's like, okay, we have now ingested each other's blood. Time for the magic part. She's like, that wasn't the magic part. And it's like, of course not. We're in a spell circle. What do you think the spell circle is for? And she's like, I don't know what the spell circle is for. I'm freaking out. And so it activates the spell circle. And so now that she has part of it inside of her and it has part of her inside of it, they are able to form this soul bond. And for a brief moment, she feels she could resist this. Like, even though she has already swallowed its blood, she could resist this. She could say no to this. It is a soul bond. Both parties have to consent to this. And she can sort of distantly feel that if she says yes to this, here's all of the soul bonds Taj already has that she will also therefore be saying yes to. And it's just a split second thing, but she has the ability to say no in that moment. She doesn't, because she's very dutiful and she has been defined her whole life by what she can give to others. And so she does agree to this, and so it's like a rope snaps out from between her breasts and out to where Taj is. And there's this sensation with the magic around her. And distantly, she's aware that monsters are dancing in this circle around them and chanting and pounding on the earth and cartwheeling and cavorting. And there's so much music and noise and motion outside of the spell circle. But inside of the spell circle, there's just like this heavy buzz of that rope between their chests turning into this chain almost. It is a binding that feels almost physical. And her hand actually goes to her chest to try to grab at this rope, at this chain that exists between them, and of course touches pure air. There's not actually physically a chain between them, but she feels like there should be. It feels like a tether has physically shot out of her body to connect her to Taj. It's a very weird sensation for her. She's having a lot of weird, inexplicable sensations today. Her brain can only process so much of it. But when the binding is complete, she is overwrought. And Taj, normally for a marital bond, especially for a marital bond with 200 people's superior, there would be partying. But partying can happen anytime. Earth is plentiful. No one's going to die in the meantime. Earth is crazy safe. It's going to take its new lady wife. It's going to go to bed. And it's going to let her relax. And once she's had a chance to settle in, because it is, again, aware that it has coerced her into this, it put a curse on her town. So it lifts that curse from her town now that they're married, now that they're soul bonds. This isn't something that can be broken. It would do serious, heavy damage to the soul to try. Now that they're soulbound, it's like, okay, cool. I don't need to curse the human town anymore. But it is aware that this is something that it has coerced her into. And so it's trying to be very delicate, very respectful. It is a monster, so your mileage may vary, but it is trying to be very considerate of her and of her emotional state and of her physical needs. It also now kind of has physical needs because it is soulbound to a human. Eating every day is going to be a pain in the ass, but it can leave its territory now, and all of its subordinates can leave its territory now, and they are learning agriculture kind of from scratch, not entirely. They are, of course, monsters, so they've got little goblins and imps and pixies that love to steal. They love to steal. They love to steal. So the town is not quite out of the frying pan yet. Yes, it's no longer cursed, but yes, also now monsters can go there and steal their stuff in the night. So town's haunted. Not as haunted as they were, but town's haunted. And they can go out hunting, they can go out mining, they can go out foraging and gathering. There's a world of opportunities. And Taj explains that to Penny, like, oh, I couldn't leave my territory before, but now that I am bound to you and all of my subordinates are bound to me, we can leave this territory and go anywhere we want. And she's like, oh, so by agreeing to this, I have set you loose upon the world. And it's like, yeah, thanks. We love that. We're genuinely appreciative of that. And she's like, okay, I need to lay down. And so that's as far as I've like written. That's all of the stuff that I have like actually written down so far. But the general plot that follows after this is Taj and Penny getting to know each other. Taj has to deal with a woman who has been basically brought up to do nothing but lie and smile and say, I'm fine, regardless of how fine she actually is. And Penny now has to deal with 200 people who think she rules, who genuinely are vassals to the lady of their estate. Like Taj is their god empress. They are so devout to Taj, and because Penny is in a marital bond with Taj, she is Taj's equal. Taj has brought her into this soul bond not as a subordinate, but as an equal, which means that they are able to share in each other's magics and ability way more than a subordinate and a superior do. But also, she now has kind of total authority over them. Like, she is second to Taj and Taj alone. Taj is the only person who could give monsters an order that counterposes Penny's orders. She has been given a place of immense respect and great standing, and they don't act like that, so she doesn't immediately catch on to it because they'll insult her to her face. They'll say that's stupid. And what she doesn't really pick up on, because she's not getting any of the social niceties, is none of them defy her. None of them disobey her. They're just going to bitch about it the whole time, which she's not used to. She's used to old-timey, prim and proper, small town life where you are very deferential to your superiors, where you smile and say you're fine. There's a whole Rube Goldberg machine of social niceties that you're supposed to dance around, and monsters have eaten the Rube Goldberg machine. She's not picking up immediately that they have so much respect for her. They have so much admiration and appreciation for her. They are so deferential and so obedient to her. It just looks very different from human deference. And meanwhile, Taj is trying to be respectful of Penny's privacy, but notices that she never really reaches out to it along the bond, because it will reach out to its bond mates all the time. It will ask for things, it'll check on them. If anyone gets hurt, it will touch base, like, is this a hurt where you need me to come do something about it? Do you need me to pick you up? Are you okay? Is anyone else in the area? Like, it is constant in management mode. It's like a video game where you've got 200 subordinates and you're in charge of all of them and you need to keep tabs on all of them, which is why it's a superior. And Penny doesn't really reach out across the bond, and it will send things across the bond. It will send fondness for her and appreciation for her and gratitude and admiration. Like, it's very fond of its tiny reserved wife, but she'll never send anything back. And so it starts asking questions like, okay, do you just not know how? And she's like, no, I kind of figured that out. It's pretty intuitive. And Taj is like, okay, yes, it's intuitive. This is soul magic. If you have a soul, you have the ability to intuit this. So why don't you ever send me anything? Why don't you ever send me your thoughts? I send you images of cool rocks I find all of the time. And she's like, yes, Tosh, I know about the cool rocks. I live here. Like, it is constantly like blowing up her phone, but inside her brain. And she is just never responding to it. And she'll like talk to it. She'll respond verbally or visibly, but she never sends anything back along the soulbound. And it's trying really hard to be respectful of her privacy, but it is freaking out a little bit. So it goes and finds a wizard in the woods. And it's like, hello, wizard. And the wizard is like, ah, monster. And after he stops being like, ah, monster, it's like, hello, wizard in the woods. I require information on my tiny wife. And the wizard is like, okay, well, does she have any friends? And Taj is like, do my monster subordinates count? And the wizard is like, no. So it's like, okay, I'm going to create a human disguise so I can take my lady wife on a date into town and she can hang out with her human friends. Because the wizard tells me that this is very important for humans that deal with, looks at smudged writing on its hand, depression. Interesting. So it painstakingly crafts this quote unquote human disguise. It looks more like an elf. It's clearly not human. It's got, like, again, sort of bone white, pale skin, void black, dark, rippling hair. It's got pointed ears. It's got pupils and sclera now, but its irises are still that bright, faintly glowing cyan. And it dresses like a little fairy elf prince. Like, it's not dressed in period clothing. It's dressed like it looks like it should be bathing in waterfalls and eating dew off of lilies. But it's so excited to show off this human disguise to its human wife so it can take her into town and she can hang out with her friends. And she's like, I don't think anyone there really wants to see me. And it's like, but you're human friends. The wizard told me this would be good for you and make you happy. And she's like, thank you so much for trying to make me happy. You don't gotta do that, though. And Taj is like, I don't understand what you mean. I'm going to continue to try to make you happy so hard. Because again, it's running up against Penny's just atrocious self-esteem. She's girl, get in the car. We're getting you some self-esteem. And so It goes back to the wizard. It's like, okay, that didn't work. I didn't get to show off my fun little sexy elf disguise. And the wizard is like, okay, have you tried talking to her? And Taj is like, all of the time. And the wizard is like, bring her here. I will talk to her. So Taj brings Penny over. And the wizard's apprentice is there that day. And the wizard's apprentice is this little child. And Penny and Taj are both so taken with this child. And the child is like, well, why don't you both just be disguised so that way they don't know it's you? And Penny is like, you know what? Actually, that would probably work. So Taj makes Penny a disguise, and so she gets to be a little elf prince Penny, where she's got this vibrant, fiery, curly autumn hair. It looks like a maple tree has been turned into hair, and she's got this cute little elf outfit. And so there are these two little elf princes, and they're like, okay, we don't look human, but we also don't look monstrous. So let's go have a date in town. And so she gets to talk to people, and they don't know it's her because she still thinks that everyone would like not want to talk to her because they threw her away. But she gets to go to the bookstore and the tea shop, and it does seem to genuinely improve her mood. And so she sends a letter to her brothers because she loves her brothers more than life. Patrick is her closest friend. Peter is basically her son, even though biologically they're brother or sister. So she sends a letter to her brothers, and Taj is like, okay, great, I'm so excited. And she's like, okay, clearly my husband, because she's still thinking about Taj in terms of like, I am the dutiful, obedient wife, and Taj is the husband that makes all of the choices that I just have to obey. Because she's got a really healthy relationship with marriage and the patriarchy. Really, really good. Girl, we got to get you some self-esteem. So after that point, they start having sex, and Taj thinks that this is great because it's so excited. Penny's opening up to it. She's still not sending anything across the soul bond, but maybe she just doesn't like it. So it stops blowing up her phone inside of her head as much because it's not sure if maybe she just doesn't like this form of communication. Maybe humans prefer verbal communication. That's fine. It also likes verbal communication. Many of its goblins really prefer to just scream at full volume rather than use the soul bond, because goblins like to scream at full volume. Known character trait of goblins. So it's like, okay, I figured it out. I'm making Penny happy. We're going into town. We're going on cute dates. We're having sex. Offspring is on the table. This is great. Penny gets pregnant. Everyone throws a party about it when she announces that. And she's like, oh, God, I didn't think y'all would get that excited. And they're like, you're pregnant. Taj and Penny are going to have a child together. Of course we're excited, because life is precious and really hard on Zal. So if you're able to successfully have offspring, yeah, you're going to celebrate that. Of course you're going to celebrate that. And so she is visibly pregnant when her brothers show up. Her brothers, who went out to seek their fortune, thought everything was fine, and then got Penny's letter saying, listen, I know Mom told you about this and you're probably freaking out, but let me just tell you that I'm fine. And they're like, we didn't know that we were supposed to be worried that you weren't fine. What do you mean that you're fine? Mom hasn't told us anything. Why would you assume that she would tell us anything? Fuck Anya. All my homies hate Anya. So her brothers show up, and Patrick is someone who was in training to be a knight, but did not suit, largely because he was so anxious about what was going on with his family that he just couldn't focus on it. But I don't know if you know this, even a flunky knight is a really good swordsman. Peter is training to be a magician. And he's sort of a lay magician. He's not doing any kind of formal study. He's hanging out with his brother and traveling the world. But everywhere they go, if he can get his hands on a grimoire or get taught by a hedge witch or a medicine woman or anything like that, he's picking up spells. He's learning magic. He's developed his magic pretty decently. So you've got a swordsman who is very angry and a magician who is very angry, showing up in Taj's house going, where the fuck is my sister? Chaos very much ensues. Penny is freaking out because she is so worried that Taj is going to see her brothers as a threat and fucking kill her brothers right in front of her. Taj is baffled by this because there are two very angry humans and one very anxious Penny, and she's like screaming and crying, and they're screaming, and there's weapons, and Taj is like, all right, everyone in timeout. And it has 4 arms, and there are only 3 humans, so this really works out. Penny is gently cradled to one side, her brothers are sort of scruffed on the other side. It's like, okay, everyone calms down. Goblin stops screaming. Everyone calms down. Put the sword away. You can't stab me. What makes you think you can stab me? I could eat you. And Penny is like, oh my god, please don't. And it's like, obviously, I'm not going to. Like, these are your brothers. You've told me about your brothers. You love your brothers. I would not eat your brothers, but they're being stupid right now. And she's like, yes, please. They're just being stupid. Please. Oh my god, don't hurt them. And it's like, I'm not going to hurt your brothers. Jesus Christ. And so everyone's freaking out so bad that it eventually is just like, okay, you goblins, take her brothers upstairs, lock them in the spare room until everyone calms down a little bit. I am putting everyone in timeout. And so now she's been separated from her brothers while pregnant, and her brothers are screaming and very angry.
Boy. Oh my god.
And so she's just like begging Taj, oh my god, please don't hurt them, please. They don't know what they're doing. I'll make them leave. They'll go away. And Taj is like, I'm not. Why would you make your family go away? I'm so excited they're here. You love them a lot. I'm really excited to meet them. I'm not. Why do you keep on insisting that they go away? They just got here. Also, I don't think they're gonna. So it eventually gets her calmed down enough that it's like, Penny, I'm not going to hurt your brothers. It's fine. And she can like actually like sort of believe that, or at the very least comprehend it enough to like ask, okay, I'm gonna go talk to them in private. Can I talk to them alone? And it's like, I mean, yeah, but the one with the sword seemed pretty stabby. Are you sure you don't want me there to protect you? And then he's like, no, I'm sure. He's not gonna hurt me. Just let me talk to them alone. And so the goblins that like locked them in there are like guarding the door to make sure that they don't come out. They're like, oh my god, Lady Penny, do you want to go in there without Taj? Like, what if it needs to protect you? And she's like, no, really, it doesn't need to protect me. Please let me see my brothers. And so they let her in, and the door's been barricaded with like the dresser that they have in there because her brothers are like, okay, we gotta barricade the door. We gotta get out this window. Open the window. And she's like, Patrick, can you move the dresser? And they're like, oh my god, Penny. And so the 3 of them get to have a not quite as touching reunion as they would have liked. They're like, oh my god, you're pregnant. How long have you been here? No, mom didn't tell us fuck all. Why did you think mom would tell us fuck all? We'll get you out of here. And she's like, no, you can't. Taj can feel me across the soul bond. Anywhere I go, Taj can find me. And one of the constraints that I forgot to mention when I was talking about territories was Taj cannot rest outside of its territory. Even though it can go there now, because it's bonded with Penny, it cannot rest outside of its territory. None of its subordinates and its spouse cannot rest outside of its territory. Penny can go anywhere in the world she wants, as long as she can be home in time to sleep. And that means she can, like, it doesn't have to be by nightfall. It doesn't have to be anything like that. But if she tries to, like, sleep or nap or any of that outside of the territory, it's not going to work.
Dang.
Like, she can rest in the sense that she'll, like, sit on a bench and rest her feet. That works fine. But meaningful REM deep sleep cannot happen outside of Taj's territory. So much like Taj now has to eat every day to survive because it is bound to a human, Penny has to sleep every night in Taj's territory because she is bound to a monster.
That's cool.
Kind of like the Minecraft game mechanic, you cannot rest, there are monsters nearby. But instead of monsters nearby, it's monsters aren't nearby. Your territory is not nearby. So it's not safe outside of its territory, and so it cannot meaningfully rest outside of its territory. Also, the Earth hates it and doesn't want it sleeping outside of its territory, because even though the Earth is no longer going to hurt it or drain it, because hurting it would mean hurting Penny, and it will always love humans more than it hates monsters, that doesn't mean they're allowed to sleep anywhere they want. Stay in your territory. So Penny explains to them, like, no, you can't get me out of here. One, it will always be able to find me. My soul is bound to its soul. Like, it can literally sense me anywhere I am. Two, I can't sleep outside of this territory. Like, I can go into town, but I can't stay there overnight because I can't sleep there. Even if I fall asleep, I'll wake up and I'll feel just as tired as when I went to sleep. And so they're like, okay, we'll kill Taj. And she's like, no, I'm going to start crying again. Do not do that. And so she eventually manages to explain to them, like, Taj, even though she came here because it forced her to, like, it has not hurt her ever. It's never said a mean word to her other than just like this sort of playful insult that is typical of monsters, because she has picked up that monsters are like very irreverent people, and they insult each other and they insult Taj, and Taj insults them all the time. And so it has been more gentle with her than it has with its own subordinates. Like, it'll call them dumbasses, but it's never called her a dumbass. It's just very blunt and very brusque and very difficult to get used to, but she has gotten used to it. And so her brothers are like, yeah, but you're like pregnant with a monster's baby. Are you sure you don't want us to kill it? And she's like, even if, big if, but even if you could kill Taj, you would then have 200 monsters hunting you down. No, don't kill my husband, please. So the four of them sit down and have a much needed talk, and Penny's brothers showing up is what it took to break the dam. She's not pretending to be fine anymore. She's not lying to Taj's face anymore. And she reveals that, yeah, she has been lying. She's not been fine. She's not been happy. She's been stuck and making the best of a bad situation, but she's felt like this is a bad situation. And Taj feels very hurt by this. It feels very betrayed by this, that she's been lying to it for upwards of a year now, because it thought it was doing good. It thought it was making her happy. It thought it was being a good spouse to her. And she, anytime it asked, like, okay, do you need anything? Do you want anything? Is there anything that would make you more comfortable? She said, no, 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 I'm fine. I'm happy like this. And it just took her at her word, because it's a monster. Why would you lie about that? If you want something, why wouldn't you say that you want something? If you don't want something, why wouldn't you say that you don't want something? Even like slaves in Zal will bitch and whine and moan that they have to do the thing. They'll do the thing, but they're going to complain about it. Like, you're never left wondering on Zal. So it is very, very, very hurt that Penny has been essentially lying to it for a year. And also very hurt that it wasn't making her happy. It's been exerting itself for a year trying to make her happy, and none of it worked, apparently, which is an exaggeration. Obviously, like, it has done things that have made her happy. She thinks that the cool rock pictures in her brain are charming, and the elf outfits, like, she feels like a little princess when she wears it. It's like she's had really nice, tender moments with Taj, but in the moment, Taj is very hurt, and it's like, so everything was a lie.
God.
So it goes out into the woods to have a big ol' sulk about it. I describe it as like a husky sulk, where it's just like crying and screaming and crying and throwing up and woo woo woo. It's having some big woos. And then Penny has evening talking with her brothers, which really grounds her, and she realizes, okay, I came here and it was coerced, but Taj has done everything in its power since then to accommodate me and make me happy, and I need to be willing to meet it halfway, because it's been trying to meet me in the middle, and I've been the one refusing to do that. Am at fault. Like, Taj is still at fault for cursing the town and making me marry it. But I am at fault for not telling anyone my feelings, and for assuming that it wouldn't matter to other people what I felt or how I was doing. Um, and so the next morning, she, for the first time in the year of them being married, pulls on the tether between their souls and follows it to where Taj is sulking out in the woods.
Romantic.
And yeah, and she opens herself up to Taj, where she allows her feelings to trail out across that connection, even though she is still verbally speaking to it, and they're like sort of flopped down in the sad dog position out in the woods, and she like sits and leans her back against its back.
Oh.
And she has an honest conversation with it. Like, I wasn't happy, and like these are the times I was, but these are the times I wasn't. I'm going to try to be more honest. I can see now that you were trying your best and I was the one that was refusing to meet you halfway. I'm going to try to be more honest. Please understand that you brought me here because you could have killed me and everyone in town, and that's really intimidating to me. And it's like, well, yeah, but I lifted that curse. And she's like, yeah, but you could set another curse. You could eat me anytime you want. And it's like, Penny, I am soulbound to you. Anything I do to you is going to hurt me just as much. Like, I can't hurt you. You are bound to me through a marital bond. And it explains to her that no, she is its equal. All of its subordinates are deferential to her as well. She like wasn't imagining that. They will obey her with the same amount of fealty as they obey Taj. Just like second only to Taj. And so she gets a better understanding of her position in this little monster society, and Taj gets a better understanding of its wife because she has finally genuinely opened up to it and allows it to feel her across that soul bond. And they get to have, their big touching moment where, not everything is fine, but it's gonna be. And so it gets to know her brothers, and now that not everyone is like screaming and stabbing and spell casting, they actually get on pretty well.
Mhm.
Peter is very enamored with the monsters and the monsters' magic, especially. Monsters are very excited to see what magic a human can do, because Penny doesn't really have any magic that she can use, but Peter does. Hey, Peter, try
Ooh.
to cast this spell. And so they're able to get along. The brothers stick around for, I'd say, probably like 6 months to a year, just to like make sure Penny is okay, see her through her first birth, all of that stuff. Be uncles. Oh my god, they're uncles. Before they sort of resume traveling the world. And Penny gets to have a family that really loves her, and a spouse that really loves her, and people that look up to her and admire her and put a lot of weight and stake in her words. And she gets to be a mom. And she likes motherhood. She genuinely does. And yes, her child is a freaky little thing, but all of her family is freaky little things at this point.
What does it look like?
So,
What are the bees?
so um, it's got sort of the bone white face that Taj has going on, but instead of like an animal skull shape, it's more of like a porcelain mask look to it.
Cool.
Um, and it's got long black hair, but you know how when hair will like sort of catch the light and it shimmers?
Hmm.
Instead of being like white, that's gold. So it's black hair, but it's gold where it catches the light.
Pretty.
Um, and it's humanoid in shape, but it's got sort of a dark, like goth. Think goth. It's got like very dark black, but there's sort of like a dark blood red sheen to it, or modeling to it, where its skin, it's got the blood red of Penny's blood, but it's got the very dark black of Taj's shadow. And it's not void black like Taj's, but it is just sort of like this black and burgundy kind of. Um, and then Penny puts them in cute little outfits.
Of course. Oh my
And
god.
so Taj was very surprised when it learned that Penny could not impregnate it. It had to be the one to impregnate her. Because all monsters are unisex by default.
Mm.
So Taj and their child is also, I guess, intersex would be the closest thing, because it is half human.
Hmm.
But so it's not. Anyway, Their child probably would use they, them pronouns. I
Mhm.
don't have a name for their kid because the pregnancy was kind of the important part of the narrative, and then Penny gets to be a mom as part of her happily ever after. Um, but so and I'm also hate naming characters. I hate naming characters. Every author's struggle. I have
Same.
it.
I always put in the
So
name, the first name that comes to my head. I'm like, okay, that's their name. The end.
yeah, Rosalia then probably Rosie, little Rosie. Um, and
What's
so yeah, eye color would be. I
do you think
mean,
glowing blue eyes with no pupil, or what?
that would be fun. It would be kind of discordant with the rest of their color palette. I kind of want to say black pupils, gold irises, black sclera.
Pretty.
Yeah, to go with their hair. I think that would be
Hmm,
fun.
I like that.
Yeah, so Penny has a kid that kind of looks like a haunted doll, but that's okay. She loves her child regardless. Uh, so yeah, so they get their happily ever after, and Taj, obviously, after things reconcile with Penny, it's not going to hold a grudge. One, because they literally are soulbound, like it's not going to hold a grudge against its spouse. Two, now that Penny has shared, it can realize just how hard that was for her and how many layers of just abuse and neglect and everything she had to deal with that did make her that way. And it can slowly and lovingly peel back those layers to reveal the very sensible, kind, steady heart underneath.
Hmm,
So, yeah, that's Taj and Penny.
I love
Ride
it.
for the monster.
Okay, now I'm gonna get my notes again. So I guess
Ooh,
before
question
we
times.
before we close the podcast, I'm
Hmm.
going to ask you some questions that
Some
I thought would
questions
be pretty cool.
for me.
Okay, if you could step into your OC's world, what would you do?
Ooh. Because I got two options. I could be a human in town nearby, or I could be one of Taj's monster subordinates.
Ooh.
Or am I like isekai'd into this?
Like, I guess you could either. You could do both,
Okay.
I guess.
So Zal sucks, so I probably wouldn't want to be one of Taj's subordinates just because I would have to deal with a lot of bullshit. If I was a human in town, I I would want to be a magic user because if you
Of
live in
course.
a setting where there's magic, I would probably want to be a hedge witch, most likely. Um, because I like the idea of making like soaps and salves and potions and dancing by firelight in the moon and all of that. I think being a hedge witch would be fun because it's like you don't have like the prestige and the responsibility of the magic academy and
Yeah.
wizards in their towers. You're just like some cat person who lives down the block, sells you weird herbs and leaves. I can deal with sickness if you need. So I could be like the town healer, the town apothecary, the town hedge witch.
Okay. Now, if money was no issue, how would you bring your OCs to life?
Ooh, if I had unlimited budget, but I had to use it on my OCs and not other frivolous bullshit,
Yeah.
because that would be my the main pitfall there. You know, I would love like a light novel, like really nice illustrated full color inserts, maybe like two or three per chapter, you know?
Yeah.
And it could be like fully illustrated, very nicely illustrated, but it would still be predominantly in writing form because it is a written work. Like it's pictures in my brain, but it is a written medium in real life, what I do have.
Beautiful. I love that idea so much.
Hee
And I guess lastly, if you have them, do you have any social media sites that you want to list if people are interested?
Not
content?
Yeah, not related to Taj and Penny. That's mostly the brainchild of my Discord, which I have a fan Discord where I write a lot of fan fiction on Archive of Our Own. I'm Haro Thar, there, Harothar. So if you like any of my fandoms that I write for in various works, you can find it's like a little Easter egg. You can find a hyperlink to my writing Discord where people who are fans of my works can come talk to me. It got really big when the Dream SMP was really big because I was writing a very popular Dream SMP fic. But since the Dream SMP fandom has kind of simmered down, a lot of like the lurkers and less frequent members of the Discord have sort of gone into full lurk mode. So it's just like I'd say 10 to 15 of us that are really active anymore. But if you want to come hang out with us, make friends, basically everything that there is about Taj and Penny in any kind of material form that's not this podcast is going to be searchable if you just like go into the search bar and type in TAJ, which is how you spell Taj. Um, so yeah, and then also like check out my fan fiction. I write really good, not to toot my own horn too much, but I'm genuinely a good writer and I'm very proud of my ability to world build and capture character voice and tell a compelling narrative.
Okay, if you want to hear more about Haro's story, you can check out their AO3, and I will provide their link to their AO3 in the description box. And thank you so much for listening to my first episode of the Hyper-fixation Station. This is Lolifu signing off, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.